Alrighty, guys. So we are back with the study hall now. So we were talking about India very quickly before we do go into some regionality and stuff. Does anybody have any questions so far? Anything that we want to touch on? If we had some questions on the assignment and stuff, raise your hand. I'm in.
There was just one question, which was how do we recommend plating for this week? You're going to be making naan. I really highly suggest making some rice as well. It's just going to be really nice with the kofta. But that's personal preference. And that way you could build, I would just make sure that you're garnishing and thinking creatively. Also, you could think about, all right, sometimes it's easier instead of trying to plate a huge, big portion, but a smaller portion, right? Start small, take out one meatball and sauce and think about, okay, I have this. And how can I plate that? Can I do anything with this? Does it look better with 2 meatballs, 3 meatballs? Where do I stop, right? How many portions should I put on a plate, right? Start thinking about that. Otherwise, like I said, make some rice, serve that on top. You've got the raita, which is going to be on the side. It really wouldn't be served on top or in it. It's going to be served, that raita is going to be served on the side. Dal also would be served on the side. You really are eating with your hands. And what you do is have a pile of rice and you would have, you would put your kofta on the side and put your dal, and then you just kind of go at it like this. So you can always try to make things more upscale, and I totally support that. But you're just going to want to think about, how would I normally be served this? How should it be combined? How should it be eaten? That would be my best words of advice. Chef, do you have any other tips?
I would suggest Google the product. Go onto Google, and whatever it is that we're making this week, just look it up, and it'll give you some wonderful ideas. But another thing that I tell the students when I do their reviews, when I see the plating that can be a little bit better sometimes, I'll be like, how would you like this to be served to you in a restaurant? If you were paying, let's say, $16 for this meal, would you be okay with what you've put on the plate for me to look at if this came to you and you paid for it? Remember, while we are working from our homes, it's fantastic to work from the comfort of our homes in our own kitchen. We are still trying to get ready for the industry. So we want to be as ready as possible. And that includes plating. Plating is one of those things that, for me personally, it was the most difficult part of the culinary world. Meshing flavors together, super easy. Knife cuts were great, super simple for me. But for the life of me, I struggled with plating. To this day, I still struggle with dressing myself. My wife has to set my clothes up for me because I'll grab some blue pants, a green shirt, and red shoes. Just for the life of me, I cannot match colors, and I cannot figure out plating. So it took a lot of practice, and it's going to take a lot of practice. Just look at other people's work and try to replicate that initially, and that will get you to where you eventually come up with your own style for it. We talked about it with the week 6 in Spain with the Adria brothers. Copying somebody, it's not cheating. It's just getting inspiration. So just, that's what I would do. I would suggest just search up whatever it is that we're making for the week. Go onto Google, type in that word, and then add fine dining plating to the end of it. And it should give you some beautiful ideas. That's really all I got. But yeah, it is going to take a lot of practice. Any other questions, guys?
Kieran, there was a hand up from you, but seems
Went
like
down, yeah.
down. All right. Well, then let's.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, was it suitable kind of to plate all of that together, not on the same plate, but like plate it surrounding each other, like with the like you said, how the
like in the tally form, how it would be.
Yeah, like in the tally form.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Just in that case, we want to just make sure we're thinking, okay, a garnish, right? Make sure we've got those on top, or extra almonds, sliced or chopped almonds on top of that kofta. And then clean rims, right? That's so important.
Right.
But yeah, that is okay to serve it in a family style setting as always.
And that would be like the final picture where it says plated.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So let us get into some regionality in India. And it's huge. Although very regional, there are a lot of commonalities in the cuisine. What we're going to see with India is that for the most part, it's highly dependent on sauces, which are gravy-like or stew-like dishes. You're gonna see them paired with meat, vegetables, or cheese. Although the particular spice mix, the degree of liquidity or the viscosity of it, and the ingredients are going to be determined by the regional preference. Some regions you're going to see the food's a lot thicker. Some of them it's going to be a little bit more soup-like, so a lot thinner. The spice mixes that are used are going to be very different. We'll see that it's also very dependent on rice. Although southern Indian regions use rice more heavily than other regions. So you're going to see a lot more rice down here than you will up here. All regional cuisines are reliant on what Chef referred to earlier, which are called pulses. So what are pulses? Pulses, or what does the word mean? Basically what it means, it's just the edible seed of plants in the legume family. Another thing that they're very dependent on is just legumes themselves, any type of them. There's hundreds. One thing that I recently just grew an absolute adoration for. I loved them as a kid. My grandma used to make them super often. Nobody else in my family really liked them, but lentils. Lentils are something that I adore. I did go vegan for about 6 months. It was a great decision. I felt amazing. I just lost a little bit of weight, and I don't weigh much to begin with, as you guys can see. Chef Catherine can attest to that. We met in Chicago. I did start losing a little bit of weight, so I was just not happy with it. I didn't want to eat unhealthy calories, so I was like, you know what, let me just go back to my regular diet. But lentils were something that I was eating probably 3 to 4 times a week. And there's just so many varieties of them. They're super versatile. The amount of things that you can do with them is insane. So I would urge you guys to try lentils if it's something that you're not too familiar with. Really get into the cooking of them. There are so many varieties, so many different recipes, so many different things that you can do with them. Yeah, so we do have a lot of pulses here. Dal or split or whole legumes, they add a nice creaminess to dishes that don't actually use dairy in them. And you're going to see it when you do, when you make your recipe this week. It's going to have a nice, beautiful consistency to it, even though there was no dairy products added to it, nothing like that to thicken it up. They do, blanking here, sorry. When we get to northern India, what this region is known for, it's high use of dairy products. So you're going to see a lot of milk here. You're going to see paneer cheese. I don't have a picture of it, unfortunately. I did show you guys, I believe it was last week or the week before, just this hard cheese that you can grill, which is this one. It's a mild Indian cheese. A lot of ghee, which we talked about, is clarified butter. What makes ghee different from regular butter? Anybody chime in and tell me kind of why you want to clarify the butter as opposed to just using it as is?
Remove the fat.
Yes, you remove the fat, but what does it do in terms of cooking?
I should know. You taught me that.
It burns. It doesn't burn. It can use it with high heat.
Yes, it has a higher smoke point, so you can use it with higher heat. So if you've ever melted butter at a low temperature, you can see that the yellow, you can see this like yellow clear liquid come to the bottom, and then you'll have this like white foamy thing that sits at the top. Those are the milk solids that are separating from the clarified butter or the ghee itself. So what you want is you want that beautiful just yellow gold that's at the bottom. But it does have the name, so it's just called ghee. Yeah, so once you remove that, it does increase the smoke point drastically. If you've ever just thrown butter into a skillet and forgot about it and just kind of went to your fridge to look for one of the things to cook up because you didn't have your proper mise en place, you'll see that it turns very brown. And that's something that can be used in itself, which is called brown butter. It has a nice, beautiful, nutty flavor to it, but the smoke point of it is very low. It just burns very quickly. And if you do leave it, it does get a very nasty flavor. So in this region, they do not use much oil for cooking. So they are going to be resorting to that ghee. They need a way to cook at high heats, and that's just kind of what they use, right? We did show the pictures of the ghee. A lot of yogurt in this region. Samosas, which are fried pastries stuffed with potato. They occasionally have meat in them. These are a common snack in the northern part. Do I have a picture of it? I thought I did. I guess not. Sorry. Clay ovens, which are known as tandoors, are very popular in the northern region, which are giving dishes like tandoori chicken and naan bread their distinctive charcoal flavor. Oh, I do have them down here. These are the samosas that I was talking about. Sorry, I didn't scroll all the way down. So you see that these are just kind of fried pastries that are stuffed, very similar to empanadas, which we've talked about quite a bit before. And these are the tandoors here. So this week we are making our bread, our naan, and it does say for the dough to be pretty wet. In this picture here, I need somebody to point this out to me. Why is it that you want your dough to be wet and not just completely coated in flour?
So you could stick.
Yes, sir, Algie, so that it just slaps right onto that tandoor right there on the edge and it sticks. If it's completely coated in flour, it's going to hit and just fall right to the bottom. So that is why we want to make sure that the dough is still a little bit sticky. That is why that water is added to this. These things can get up to 800 to 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So they get very, very hot. The naan breads that we're making this week, we want to avoid adding any excess amount of flour because of that. So just do be very mindful of that. We want a little bit of water. We want it to be a little bit wet, but we also don't want it to be swimming in the water. Basically what these are, it's just think of very similar to like a brick oven for pizza. You kind of insulate the heat nicely. You control the heat with by having the fire directly on the bottom. Just super, super good stuff here. They're going to add a nice, beautiful charred, smoky flavor to these dishes. When we think about the western part of India, this region, it has three main regions to it, which is Maharashtra, I think it's pronounced, Gujarat, and Goa. Not too keen on the pronunciation to them. I do my best. But we'll see that Maharashtra, it's a coastal location, and it's responsible for its fish and coconut milk dominant dishes. Gujarati cuisine is mostly vegetarian, and it has this underlying sweetness to many of its dishes, which is because of that Chinese influence. This region is very, very dry, so because of that, it produces a lot smaller vegetables. This region is known for its chutneys, which are a popular Indian condiment that's used, that it's cooked or it can be fresh. It can be used with pickled vegetables, with fruits and sweet, sour, spicy flavors. Really, the possibilities are endless with it. It's kind of like pickling and stuff, so it's a little bit of a preservation method. Goa acted as a major trading port and colony for Portugal. The Portuguese were actually the ones that introduced chilies into India. So if you've ever had Indian food and it's a little bit spicy, that does come from the Portuguese that sailed all the way around Africa. When we think about the southern part of India, it's actually in a little bit of a peninsula, so it has a lot of water surrounding it, right? The cuisine of the south, it's not typically found on many Indian restaurant menus, and it differs greatly from other regions. So the curries here, they differ a lot in their textures and can be categorized according to their drier consistency, or those favoring a more soup or stew-like presentation to them. Aside from curry style dishes, this area is known for fried or griddle cooked snacks, dosas, which are like this giant crepe-like rice pancake that's filled with vegetables, chutneys, masala curries. It's this guy right up. Nope, that's not it. This guy right up here. So we can see that this looks very similar to like a French crepe, right? And it's got some dipping sauces on the side. It's filled with all kinds of cool stuff. And that is pretty much all I got. Chef, anything you want to add here?
Well, that's awesome. Done an amazing job, and really, it is so unique. Is all I will tell you. I spent 6 months in India working and traveling, and my challenge to myself was to eat a thali, which is what the photo of what Chef showed you. Every single place that I could go to see how it would slightly change in each region. And that's what would come up. It would be the vegetables, it would be the meat use, it would be the butter, right? The ghee, the dairy versus coconut, right? The flavors of the chutneys would change. The utilization of wheat in the north compared to really just heavy on the rice down south, rice and lentils. It is, I want to say one thing. It is very easy to add too many bitter spices to a dish, okay? If you have a heavy hand with spices, I'm not saying when you're following this recipe, outside of that, hold back. Spices can really drop a number on a dish, okay? I mean, it can literally take it from a 10 to a 1. If you add too much cardamom, for example, or too much coriander, you get these excessively floral notes, and it can be quite off-putting. So embrace and approach these flavors. This week is pretty gentle for the Indian. We're again just hitting cumin, coriander flavors that we've kind of experienced in these past 2 weeks as well. Embrace it. And once you find something that you like, it is a beautiful world to enter if you are pursuing vegetarian cuisine or looking for more plant-based items, as Chef Jerry was talking about with the lentils and utilization. They just make vegetables taste so darn good. Spices go a long way, and it's pretty impressive. But that's about it. I do see a few more questions that came in here. Jeremy was saying to grease the sheet pan after the first 1 or 2 because if the bread is sticking to it, it creates more of a stick. So that might help a little bit of a release. Remember that pan will be hot. And then as far as lentils, no soaking. Yeah, you don't need to. If they're lentils, you don't need to soak. Beans, remember, we're really looking at the size of that, okay? You can, of course, soak green lentils, and that helps speed up the cooking time. All that is gonna do is help rehydrate. Remember, legumes and pulses are dried. But you do not need to, you just need to make sure that you have enough water and that you're cooking those until tender. Kieran, and sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly.
You close enough. It's Kieran.
Oh, okay, hey, Kieran, got it now.
So the red split lentils, it is all right if we can only find green, because I've been seeing green lately, right in the sections.
It's very different. They're very, to be honest, they're very different. They have a very different flavor profile. They have a very different texture. Green lentil is going to have a bit of a shell on it, not really a shell, but a thin skin. While a split red lentil does not have any of that.
Sure.
You'll see a little germ in it, which is just like this little piece. It looks like a little teeny white string, which is just part of the seed itself. But you can certainly use green lentils in this. My suggestion to all of you, if you end up using another, really cook that down. Cook it. It should be mashed. You don't want to have actual individual lentils in this. The red split lentils are going to almost disappear into, you almost can't tell that it was once this big lentil. So cook those green lentils down. Give it some extra time.
Okay.
That's really it, guys. And just make sure that, as we've said before, continuously taste your food as you're cooking it down. Do not just serve it up. Sometimes those lentils might be a little bit underdone. You're going to have a little bit of a crunch to it. And we won't be able to see it in the picture, unfortunately, but it is one of those things that you want to make sure that you're cooking these things correctly. Just go ahead and pick one out and just squish it between your fingers. And if it turns into complete mush, you're all set. You're there. You can go ahead and stop the cooking process. But if you press it and there's still a little bit of hardness to it, then you need to go a little bit more. Watch your water level, make sure it doesn't completely dry out. Otherwise, it is going to start scorching the bottom, and that smell is going to be absolutely horrible, because that stuff, any legume, once it starts burning, it burns very quickly, and it gives this awful smell in the air. So do be cautious of that. But just watch your water levels and just constantly check your food. Do not ever follow recipes and it says cook for 15 minutes. 15 minutes for them might be very different from what it is for you. And that difference in 2-3 minutes might be a complete shock to what happens to the product. Like Chef said, it might take it from a 10 to a 1 just because it's scorched. So do be cautious of that. Make sure that you're paying attention as you're cooking every single time. Stay on top of it.
Heck yeah. Any other questions? I think we're pretty solid, chefs, considering nobody had questions during the recipes either. These recipes are straightforward. If you need suggestions, you can't find ingredients, reach out to us. Let's all pull on this together and finish strong. I could show you, since we have a few minutes, would you like to see a few photos from my time in India? Yeah? All right, let's do it really quickly. Give me 1 second. Let me pull this up. My apologies, it's dated. It's from forever ago, 11 years ago, whenever it was that I was working there. 2009, 2010. Let me just pull into it. Sorry. I didn't think we were going to have time to hit into it, but we do.
2010, my high school graduation year.
Yeah, you know, I was just out on the road working in India. You know, the computer does wonderful things for you know, not understanding real age is what I've been told. Because people think that we all look a lot younger than we are, Jerry, yourself and myself included.
So I grew out a mustache this week. I need to look a little bit older.
Smart move, you know, there you go. Whatever you can do. I don't want to add wrinkles to myself, but I could, because they're already there. Let's see. All right, here's a few just to give you a flavor of what that cultural and society were a bit like here. So we've got some friends, but let's click in. A lot of, you know, Chef Jerry was talking about the architecture and the history behind this. I mean, it's incredible. These sculptures and statues are just all around. We've got a lot of temples. Temples are huge, right? Temples in India, they do pilgrimages to them every year, or you go to a specific one, and it's you go for prayers or offerings. Selling, this is honey. That's a beehive and a guy selling honey right off of his motorcycle. These designs selling fresh lemon. This is a standard go-to drink in India. Fresh squeezed bitter lemon or bitter orange, salt and water. It rehydrates you, it refreshes you, it puts those nutrients right back in, and you keep going. Let me see. Oh yes, okay, so this is another one. I think I have my other one, which has a bit more food. All right, we're starting to get into some of these food. Does anybody know what this fruit is?
Jackfruit.
Jackfruit?
Yeah, there we go. Nice one. In its raw form, and it is delicious. Here's another example of just all the magnificent herbs. I mean, think about herbs, guys. And this is just one pile that one person is selling. Can you imagine how many herbs are being utilized daily in this cuisine? It's mind-blowing, to say the least. Marigolds, we've of course got those beautiful cows. This is a powder that's used for an event called Holi. These are baby teeny tiny eggplants right there. This is a fruit called amla or amla. Very prolific down in southern India. Here we've got chana dal, which is essentially chickpeas, but they're very small and darker brown. You can also find them being consumed in bright green. They're raw stage as well, raw and fresh. And then I have one more here. Let me just get back into this. I think it's here. Should be the next one. Yeah, here's just another little beautiful bounty. All right, obviously we've got some cabbage. These are banana flowers, okay? I cannot recall what this one was. This is an opu squash. We've got plantains. We've got bitter gourd in the back, a bunch of chives, onion chives, green peppers there. And let's see what else. Oh yeah, here's another beautiful. I mean, this is also, just think about the attention to detail that how much they care about their produce, right? This is an individual seller putting that out in baskets every day, doing their job, and just working. Here's a beautiful dish as well. This is fluffed. They're basically dried rice flakes that are crushed, and that like think about like a Rice Krispie treat. Excuse me, a Rice Krispie cereal. So you've got that puffed grain of rice, but then these are smashed, and then you add different seasonings, and it's called chaat, CHAAT, which is street food. And you just walk up to a guy on the street, grab a bowl, eat it, and you're on your way. I think we've got a few more here. Yes, one of my favorites. This is a dish called dokla. Dokla is made with chickpea basin flour, and it is this spongy, savory little cake. Looks kind of like cornbread or sponge cake, but it is savory all the way. As you can see, we've got chilies, and it's laced up with mustard seed and cilantro. Baker Chef here, selling some stuff, gave me a lot of good information there. And that, my friends, is it for the food world of India. It is a wonderful country. It is sad. It is incredible. It's intelligent. It's innovative and very unique. And I will leave you with one other interesting fact. Even though, right, we want to think about this. We know the cow is holy, right? Well, guess what happens? You're an Indian, right? A Desi, right? And you've grown up there and you've traveled abroad and you went to college in another place. You may or may not have likely had a hamburger or even a steak, all right? So what has happened in the past, well, 10 years since I've been around there, which was starting to happen, they had a lot of people that were returning from living abroad and maybe weren't the strictest in their religion, and that's totally fine. We all take our religion and do what we want with it and how much we uphold it and what do we eat or don't eat during fasting. And they came back and they said, well, we want steak. We want hamburgers. So there was a lot of real upheaval and debates on that. Of course, you have a Muslim community that is already eating meat, right? And so it's served and sold there. But you've got also Hindus who are not strict Hindus who also like to eat a little meat. So it's kind of interesting, right? We just think about how times change, how people change. I have a lot of Jewish friends, for example, who are born and raised Jewish, but they sometimes have some pork, and it doesn't mean that they're not a Jew. It doesn't mean that a Hindu's not a Hindu. It just means that, hey, they were exposed to something and that's okay, right? Because at the end, everybody's allowed to do what they think is right. And I think it's just really interesting when you come into a country where you have strict rules about what can be consumed or not, and how when we interact and involve different religions, how things need to kind of change a little bit. We need to, respect everybody's own desire and let people do what they want to do. And if they want to eat cows in India, I don't know. What do you guys think? Just a question. Yeah. Well, just for you to think about, just something to put your head into. I think that's it, right?
I think we're all set. Yeah.
All righty.
Fun week.
Yeah.
You guys were not very interactive today. Shame on you people that are here.
I know. We missed you guys. We missed your energy. Hopefully we'll all be back with the next week. And Chef, have a wonderful week as well. Thank you. And always a pleasure.
Eat too much Middle Eastern food over the weekend.
What's that?
I said I ate too much Middle Eastern food over the weekend.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why you're not talking today, Algie. Okay, I get it. That makes sense.
Everyone's got
Fair
that food
enough.
coma.
Fair enough. All right. All righty, everybody. Take care. Enjoy.
This one just seems much easier than the rest of them, so I can get caught up on the rest that I'm missing out on.
Okay.
So that's what I have no questions.
Okay, good. Yeah, this is a fairly straightforward week. It's nothing too crazy. Just pay attention to those recipes. Reach out to Chef Jerry and myself if you have any questions, and rock and roll.
Alrighty, guys.
All right.
See you.
Good night, everybody. Good night, Chef.
Night.